Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Have you ever felt that pull between you know, two different worlds, one calling you back to a place that feels safe and comforting,
Yeah, huh?
but then the other one's kind of pushing you towards your
Yeah.
dreams and your ambitions.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're kind of caught
Yeah, that's
as
exactly the struggle that we're going to
yes,
tip into today
yes,
with Life for Me. It's a
yes,
dark
yeah.
cowboy romance
Cowboy Romance
by Brittany Ann.
by Brittany Ann. And get ready because
Yeah.
love and danger and just the weight of the past, they all kind of collide at
Mm,
this place called Hallow Ranch.
right.
So if you guys enjoy these deep dives into the heart of a story,
Yeah.
don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Live for Me, it is a standalone book,
Yes.
and it's part of this
The Brittany verse.
Brittany-verse, yeah,
Yeah.
which all takes place
That Hallow Ranch.
at Hallow Ranch. And you might see some
Is
familiar faces
Yes.
from the Langston Brothers duet. But don't worry, you don't have to read those books
You don't have
to jump into this one.
to jump into.
And you can find the link to Live for Me in the episode description. So we're about to explore these themes of enduring love, sacrifice, and the power of home. And they're all wrapped up in this rugged world of cowboys and
And
some pretty intense situations.
yeah.
So let's saddle up and explore what makes love
For me.
so captivating, what immediately struck you.
Okay. What immediately struck me about this book
Yeah.
is how the setting Hallow Ranch, it's a character in itself.
It is. It's almost
It's
like
not just a
drop
backdrop.
the living,
It
breathing
does.
energy.
Suspense.
It impacts everyone who steps on its land.
Exactly. It embodies this idea of safety and belonging.
Yeah.
Especially for Abbie, who we meet in the bustling city of Denver. She's a successful journalist, driven and independent,
Yeah.
but you quickly sense a vulnerability beneath it.
And that vulnerability is really highlighted
Yeah,
by the fact that she's dealing with a stalker.
absolutely.
It creates this
The stalker situation adds this layer
kind of contrast
between suspense and danger.
her outward success and her inner turmoil.
But it also serves to push Abbie out of her comfort zone
Yeah.
and back towards Hallow Ranch, which is essentially her childhood home.
It's almost like she's been
It's like she's been running from something.
running from
And now she's being forced to confront it.
and now she's being forced to confront it. And this is where Beau enters the picture, right?
Enters the picture.
The rugged Hallow Ranch cowboy who,
Yes.
still holds a torch for Abbie after all these years.
And their reunion is anything but simple.
Yeah,
Beau is fiercely protective, almost to a fault.
yeah.
And there's a lot of unresolved tension between them,
Okay, so let's unpack this.
stemming from their shared past.
Shared past a bit. The book seems to use these flashbacks to gradually,
And it's not
perhaps
just
a
a
symbol,
they fell in love.
creating this
It's
sense
just
of
that
mystery.
sense of mystery.
kind of flashback
Just
intrigue.
certain-
Brittany Ann carefully structures these
Glimpses into the past
Right.
to mirror the challenges they're facing in the present.
Yes.
For example, in one flashback, we see young Abbie and Beau making a promise to always protect each other.
Right.
And this directly connects to Beau's current determination
Right.
to keep Abbie safe from the stalker.
It's like their past is constantly
Like their past is constantly informing their present,
shaping their
shaping their choices and
reactions and reactions. It sounds like the author is using the flashbacks as more than just
Exactly.
a way to fill in backstory. It's almost like a
The flashbacks aren't just informational.
literary technique to
They're
enhance
emotionally charged.
and carefully woven
Yeah.
into the narrative
Yeah.
to build suspense and reveal the complexities of
Yeah.
their relationship.
So we have Abbie
Feeling vulnerable in the city, Beau determined to protect her, and this
Yeah.
shared past that
So what happens?
shrouded in
I'm already on the edge of my seat.
What happens next?
Yep.
I'm already on the edge of my seat.
Well, the stalker situation escalates
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It reaches a point where Beau feels he has no choice
So rescue is in
but to rescue Abbie
quotation marks.
and take her back
Does that mean
to Hallow Ranch for her
that
safety.
wasn't exactly a consensual move
Abbie is understandably resistant
on Beau's
to
part?
being swept off her feet and taken back
Yeah,
to a place she tried hard to leave behind.
right.
It speaks to her independent nature and also to the unresolved hurt she carries.
Right.
But Beau is operating from this intense place of needing to protect her.
That's really interesting. So we're already seeing this clash between their personalities and their
Even if it means overstepping.
past experiences. Abbie is determined to stand on her own 2 feet. And Beau feels this deep responsibility to keep her safe,
Absolutely.
even if it means acting against her wishes. Does that make Beau a bit controlling?
And this conflict between Abbie's desire for independence and Beau.
Or is it just the cowboy way of handling things? I guess that's something for us to keep in mind.
It becomes a major driving force.
As we delve deeper into this story.
Throughout the book,
Yeah.
it forces both of them to confront their own vulnerabilities and reevaluate what love and trust truly mean.
So back at Hallow Ranch, it's not just Beau and Abbie.
So back at Hallow Ranch,
Right.
it's not just Beau.
We've got a whole cast of characters who add another layer to the story. We hear about Denver and Mason and Valerie and Harmony.
And add another layer to the story.
Right. And they're not just background characters.
They're not just background characters.
They're intricately woven.
They are intricately woven into the fabric of Hallow Ranch.
Into the fabric of Hallow Ranch.
And its history. They each have their own relationship with Abbie and Beau and their own history opinions about what's going on.
They each have their own relationship with Abbie and Beau.
That makes Hallow Ranch sound even more like a character itself, like a place with its own
and their own opinions
and
about
history
and even secrets, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ranch becomes a microcosm of their lives, a place where past and present collide, and where secrets have a way.
And this is where things start to get really interesting. Wouldn't you say?
Bubbling to the surface.
We've got the romance, we've got the suspense, we've got these complex characters. And this whole atmosphere of mystery.
This is where things start to get
hanging over Hallow Ranch.
I'm already hooked.
Me too. Yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover about the stalker's identity, the reasons behind Abbie's departure from Hallow Ranch, and the complex relationships that bind these characters together.
So for our listeners who are just starting live for me, what's one thing they should
I'd say pay attention.
pay close attention to as they continue reading?
To the descriptions of Hallow Ranch itself.
Yeah.
Brittany and Anne uses language in a way that makes the ranch almost tangible.
Right.
And you can really feel the sense of history and belonging that it embodies.
Yeah.
Notice how the ranch is contrasted with the city.
Yeah.
And how those contrasting environments impact Abbie's state of mind.
That's a great point.
I think it holds a lot of symbolic weight.
It's not just about the characters, it's about the atmosphere, the setting, and the way the author uses those elements
in the story
to heighten the emotional intensity of the story.
And we'll delve even deeper into those elements in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
All right, so we've established
that Hallow Ranch
is more than just a setting.
Is more than just a setting.
It's a character in itself.
It's a character in itself.
And
what's fascinating
is how the ranch influences
the
dynamics between the characters.
Influences the dynamics between the characters.
That makes sense. You mentioned there are other characters besides Abbie and Beau.
Take Valerie, for instance.
At the ranch. How do they add to this dynamic?
She's kind of the matriarch of Hallow Ranch, providing a sense of stability and warmth.
Right.
You get the feeling that she's the heart of the ranch, the one who holds everyone together.
And how does she interact with Abbie? I mean, they seem to come from very different worlds.
That's true, but I think that's what makes their relationship so interesting.
Yeah.
Valerie sees the vulnerability beneath Abbie's tough exterior and offers her a different perspective on life at the ranch.
Yeah.
She represents a kind of strength that's rooted in compassion and nurturing. It's also a stark contrast to the harsh reality.
Valerie embodies the softer side of Hallow Ranch, the part that offers lawless and healing.
And then there's Harmony, who's a bit more reserved, but equally intriguing. She's often described as like quiet, but strong.
Yeah.
And she seems to have a deep understanding of the ranch's history and secrets.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Right.
We have these strong female characters like Valerie and Harmony who are integral to the ranch's identity, but they express their strength.
That's a great observation.
In ways that challenge traditional gender roles.
In a genre that often focuses on ragged cowboys and damsels in distress.
Right.
Brittany Ann gives these women agency and depth.
Yes.
They are not just love interests or supporting characters. They actively shape the narrative and challenge our expectations.
So how does Abbie fit into this dynamic? I mean, she's coming from the city and carried her own baggage and secrets.
Because Abbie initially resists the pull of the ranch.
Yeah.
She sees it as a reminder of a painful past, a place she had to escape from.
Right.
But as the story unfolds, she begins to see the ranch through new eyes, perhaps through the perspectives of women like Valerie and Harmon.
You mentioned secrets earlier, and it seems like Everyone at Hallow Ranch is carrying some sort of
And those secrets
burden from the past.
are to unravel as the stalker situation intensifies.
Okay.
It turns out that Beau has been taking matters into his own hands.
What do you mean?
To protect Abbie.
Yeah.
Well, remember that Beau is fiercely protective of Abbie.
Yeah.
He's not content to wait for the police to handle the stalker.
Right.
He takes steps to ensure her safety, even if it means bending the rules.
Okay.
He hires a private investigator.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
And installs security cameras.
It definitely highlights
at Abbie's house and
that cowboy code of justice and loyalty.
Without her knowledge.
But it also raises questions about his methods, right? It seems like he's operating in this gray area between right and wrong. Driven by his love for Abbie, but also blurring the lines of consent and respect for...
And this is where the conflict between Beau and Abbie really comes to a head. She's a strong, independent woman who's used to taking care of herself. She's not thrilled about being rescued or having her privacy invaded, even if it's for her own good.
This adds another layer to their already complicated relationship. They're both carrying the weight of their past.
And then there's the question...
And their present actions are fueled by a mix of love, fear, and unresolved hurt.
Of who the stalker is and what they want as the story progresses.
And then there's the question of who the stalker is and what they want.
The stalker's...
As the story progresses, stalker's actions become increasingly personal and terrifying. Yes, I remember there's a scene where Abbie's office is vandalized, is trying to break her down with red paint, and there's a creepy message left on her window.
Psychologically targeting her sense of self.
Like the stalker's trying to...
And her passion for her work.
Break her down psychologically, targeting her sense of self.
Which makes you wonder.
And her passion for her work.
What's the motive here?
Which makes you wonder, what's the motive here?
Is it simply to scare Abbie?
Is it simply to scare Abbie, or is there
something more sinister at play?
Something more sinister at play. And Brittany Ann...
That's the million-dollar question.
...does a fantastic job.
And Brittany Ann...
...of weaving in these little clues.
Does a fantastic job of weaving in...
...and red herrings that keep you guessing.
These little clues.
You start to...
Herrings.
Everyone around Abbie.
That keep you guessing.
Wondering who might have a grudge against her.
You start to question...
...stands to benefit from her fear and isolation.
Everyone around Abbie.
This reminds me of the whole concept of the unreliable narrator.
Wondering who might have a grudge against her.
Where you could get quite...
Or who stands to benefit.
Trust what you're being told.
From her fear and isolation.
Because everyone has their own agenda. It creates this atmosphere of paranoia and suspense.
That you brought that up.
That just draws you deeper into the story.
He doesn't explicitly use an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
And it does create a similar effect by limiting our perspective to Abbie's experiences. We see the world through her eyes, experiencing her fear and confusion, which makes us question.
That's so clever. It's like the author is inviting us.
Everything and everyone.
To be active participants.
Just like she does.
Is the mystery. Trying to decipher
these clues alongside Abbie.
To get a handle on the situation. The story throws another curveball.
And just when you think you're starting to get a handle on the situation.
Remember how we talked about the story throws another curveball?
What do you mean? About the flashbacks and how they gradually reveal the truth about Abbie's past?
Yeah.
It turns out that her departure from Hallow Ranch 6 years ago wasn't her choice at all.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's a major turning point in the story.
Yeah.
We learn that Abbie was forced to leave.
Right.
Threatened by someone connected to the town.
Wow, that completely changes everything.
All to protect Beau.
It puts Beau's anger and resentment.
It's this incredibly heartbreaking act of sacrifice.
It fights into a whole new life.
That explains why their reunion is so fraught with tension and pain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Talk about a plot twist. And how does this revelation affect Abbie, Hurt, and Beau's relationship?
And blaming Abbie for abandoning him. But now he's forced to confront the truth that she made an impossible choice to save him.
It creates this incredibly charged atmosphere between them. The love is still there.
Talk about a plot
but it's now intertwined with...
And how does this revelation?
Guilt, regret,
affect Abbie and Beau's relationship.
And a fear of repeating past mistakes. Intimate moments are especially poignant.
Charged atmosphere.
Because you can feel the weight of their shared history.
The love is still there.
And the struggle to reconcile their past.
But it's now intertwined with...
And present selves.
Guilt, regret, and a fear.
I can only imagine The emotional roller coaster.
Of repeating past mistakes.
They're both going through, it's like they're trying to
rebuild something beautiful.
Especially poignant.
While constantly battling the shadows.
Because you can feel the weight of their shared history and the struggle to reconcile their past.
And those shadows become even darker.
And present self
starts to come into focus.
Become even darker. That's the stalker's identity.
Remember Ricky Johnson, the childhood bully who
Also
always starts to come into focus?
Yeah. Had it out for Abbie and Beau.
Remember Ricky Johnson?
Oh, yeah, him. What about him?
The childhood bully who always had it out for Abbie and Beau. Well, there are hints that he might be involved in the stalking.
Yeah.
He's back in town, working as a wildlife officer, and seems to be using his position to harass the Langstons and cause trouble for Abbie.
It's like the bully
the bully never really goes away.
They just find new ways.
Find new ways to exert their power. Exactly.
And Ricky's reappearance adds another layer of complexity to the story.
Adds another layer of complexity.
It reinforces the idea that the past is never truly buried.
It reinforces the idea.
It always has a way of resurfacing.
That the past is never truly
and impacting the present.
It always has a way.
It sounds like Live for me is doing an incredible job of weaving.
Of resurfacing and impacting.
Together multiple plot threads. The romance, the suspense, the family dynamics.
The present.
And this exploration of past traumas. It's amazing how the author...
It sounds like Live for me.
...manages to keep you engaged.
Is doing an incredible job.
On so many levels.
Of weaving together multiple plot threads.
And we're not even done yet.
Romance, the suspense.
The family dynamic.
There's still more twists and turns to come.
And this exploration of past traumas.
And the stakes keep getting higher as the story progresses.
It's amazing how...
I'm dying to know what happens next. But I guess our listeners will have to wait for...
Manages to keep you engaged.
On the final part of our deep dive.
On so many levels.
And we're not even done yet. There are still more twists and turns to come, and the stakes keep getting higher as the story progresses.
So we left off with Ricky Johnson backing down, and this looming suspicion that he might be involved.
You watched off.
With the stalker.
With Ricky Johnson back in town.
What happens next?
And this looming suspicion that he might be involved with the stalker. Well, things take a very dark turn when Abbie is kidnapped from town.
This is getting serious.
It definitely raises the stakes, and the way it happens is particularly unsettling. Abbie is having lunch with Valerie and Harmony when she's taken. It's like the stalker is taunting Beau, striking at the heart of his support system.
That's chilly.
That's chilly.
And it shows a level of planning and boldness.
It shows a level of planning and boldness. That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
Right.
And what makes it even more disturbing
is
that the stalker leaves clues.
Even more disturbing.
That point directly to the cabin Beau was building for Abbie.
Is that the stalker leaves clues.
Oh, wow.
That point directly.
So the stalker is not only threatening
Abbie's safety, but also trying to destroy the symbol of their love and future together.
Abbie's safety, but also...
So the stalker's safety, but also trying...
Exactly. It's a twisted way of saying, I can take away...
destroy this symbol.
Everything you hold dear. And you can imagine how Beau reacts to this.
And future together.
I bet he's furious and heartbroken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a twisted way of saying, I can take away everything you hold dear.
Right.
And you can imagine how Beau reacts to this. He's absolutely devastated.
He's absolutely devastated. He blames himself.
For
not being there.
For not being there to protect her.
And vows to make...
the stalker pay.
You can really feel the depth.
The depth of his love.
Of his love for Abbie and the primal rage.
Primal rage.
At having her taken from him.
He feels it having her taken from him.
It's like all his past traumas and fears are resurfacing, amplified by this very real threat to the woman he loves.
And this leads to a climactic confrontation.
At the cabin.
Along with Denver, Mason.
Along with Denver and Mason and Mags. Converge on the cabin. Ready to face the stalker and rescue Abbie.
The
stalker and rescue Abbie.
Western showdown, good guys versus bad guys with Abbies.
It's incredibly intense. Speaker. It's incredibly intense. You can feel the tension building as they close in on the cabin. Each of the cowboys is bringing their own skills and determination to the fight, driven by a mix of loyalty, protectiveness, and a thirst for justice.
So who is the stalker? Is it Ricky? Like we suspected? Well, the truth is even more twisted than we might have imagined. Yes, it turns out to be Ricky Johnson. He's been obsessed with Abbie for years, harboring this twisted fantasy of possessing her.
That's so disturbing. It confirms our suspicions about Ricky, but also adds this layer of psychological complexity to his character. What would drive someone to do something so cruel and calculated?
The book delves into Ricky's backstory a bit, revealing a deep-seated resentment towards Beau and the Langston family. He's always felt like an outsider, and this obsession with Abbie seems to stem from a desire to take something precious away from Beau, to exert some kind of control.
It's tragic in a way. Ricky is a product of his own insecurities and jealousy. His actions are inexcusable, but you can see how his twisted sense of logic led him down this dark path.
And it highlights the ripple effect of trauma and resentment, how it can poison relationships and lead to destructive behavior.
So what happens during the confrontation? Does Beau get his revenge?
The confrontation is brutal. Beau unleashes his fury on Ricky, holding him accountable for all the pain and fear he's caused. It's a cathartic moment for both Beau and Abbie, a release of all the pent-up anger and hurt they've been carrying.
It sounds like a satisfying resolution to the stalker storyline, but does it bring true closure for everyone involved?
That's the thing, Live for Me doesn't offer easy answers or tidy endings. While Ricky is apprehended and Abbie is safe, there's a lingering sense of sadness and the understanding that some wounds might never fully heal.
I think that's what makes this story so powerful. It acknowledges the lasting impact of trauma and the complex journey of healing and forgiveness.
Exactly. And ultimately, Abbie and Beau find solace and strength in each other, and in the enduring spirit of Hallow Ranch, it becomes a symbol of resilience and hope, a place where they can rebuild their lives together.
It's a beautiful reminder that even in the darkest of times, love and community can be powerful forces for healing and growth.
And it leaves you with a sense of optimism that even though life throws curveballs, there's always the possibility of finding redemption and creating a brighter future.
Wow, what a journey. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Live for Me.
It's been a pleasure discussing this captivating and emotionally resonant story with you.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated most with you? What are your predictions for Mag's story and Stay For Me? Let us know in the comments and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of romance and beyond. Until next time. So who is the stalker? Is it Ricky, like we suspected?
Well, the truth is even more twisted than we might have imagined.
Yeah.
Yes, it turns out to be Ricky Johnson.
It does.
He's been obsessed with Abbie for years.
Oh, wow.
Harboring this twisted fantasy of possessing her.
That's so disturbing.
Yeah.
It confirms our suspicions about Ricky,
Right.
but it also adds this layer of psychological complexity to his character.
Right.
What would drive someone to do something so cruel?
Yeah, what would drive someone to do something so cruel and calculated?
And calculated.
The book delves into Ricky's backstory a bit, revealing a deep-seated resentment towards Beau and the Langston family.
Right.
He's always felt like an outsider, and this obsession with Abbie seems to stem from a desire to take something precious away from Beau.
Right.
To exert some kind of control.
It's tragic in a way.
It is.
Ricky is a product of his own insecurities and jealousy.
Yeah.
His actions are inexcusable.
Right.
But you can see how his twisted sense of logic led him down this dark path.
You can, and it really highlights that ripple effect of trauma and resentment, how it can poison relationships and lead to destructive behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens during the confrontation? Does Beau get his revenge?
The confrontation is brutal.
Yeah.
Beau unleashes his fury on Ricky,
Right.
holding him accountable for all the pain and fear he's caused. It's a very cathartic moment for both Beau and Abbie.
Yeah.
A release of all that pent-up anger and hurt they've been carrying.
It sounds like a satisfying resolution to the stalker storyline,
Yeah.
but does it bring true closure for everyone involved?
That's the thing. Love for Me doesn't offer easy answers or tidy endings.
Right.
While Ricky is apprehended and Abbie is safe,
Right.
there's a lingering sense of sadness
Yeah.
and the understanding that some wounds might never fully heal.
I think that's what makes the story so powerful.
Yeah.
It acknowledges the lasting impact of trauma and the complex journey of healing and forgiveness.
Exactly. And ultimately, Abbie and Beau
Yeah.
find solace and strength in each other. And in the enduring spirit of Hallow Ranch,
Right.
it becomes a symbol of resilience and hope,
Yeah.
a place where they can rebuild their lives together.
It's a beautiful reminder that even in the darkest of times, love and community can be powerful forces for healing and growth.
Absolutely. And it leaves you with a sense of optimism
Yeah.
that even though life throws curveballs, there's always the possibility of finding redemption and creating a brighter future.
Wow, what a journey. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Live for Me.
It's been a pleasure discussing this captivating and emotionally resonant story with you.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated most with you? What are your predictions for Mag's story and Stay For Me? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of romance and beyond. Until next time.